Hello, you are most welcome to another wonderful edition here today. Where, of course, we look into some highlights of today's news, of course, and get to analyze most of the happenings in society today. I remain the host anchor Chigozie Ndibo. In today's highlight, we shall be discussing of the ordeal of the renowned Afrobeat uh, musician known as Seun Kuti, with the police of recent has been some misunderstanding surrounding what was alleged to have been uh, a, a violation or misconduct exhibited by Seun Kuti, who has so many followers and now is being detained by the police force. The IG of police, of course, issued a warrant of arrest that led to his arrest on the purported abuse of a policeman at the Third Mainland Bridge. Well, we are here to discuss what actually could have happened and the possibility of course, whatever happens, we know that this is within the human society. And could you have reasons to justify what happens? But we are here to analyze the both sides and what possibly could have transpired that condescended to such acts. On the part of Kuti, I wouldn't have, of course, supported such move. But let's look at what has been the experience of the civilians or Nigerian citizens in most recent time with the police force, especially and other military security operatives. The manner and the conduct of the policemen in a society today raises some questions or to whether they have been well trained, or could it be that some are under certain emotional distress that they begin to see the society as an enemy or perceived enemy in that regard. But the reality is that the essence of any responsible government is to protect life and property, and that should be done regardless of whatever happened, whatever circumstances. Of course, the police or security operatives may find themselves. I am not saying that the police personnel has no rights as humans, and of course, as part of the citizen. Uh, and that is not my argument. My argument is based on the previous antecedents. And of course, we have good police personnel who have distinguished themselves in different society, even within the Nigerian states, who have conducted themselves in the most decent manner. And we also have those who has perhaps has brought some uh, have raised some questions whether to if the police could of course subject most of their business to some psychological and possibly drug tests, because the manner and the way most of them behaves is so unruly and it's far within the ethics of their profession, and being that you are dealing directly with the citizens, which their safety should be prioritized, and you are, of course, constitutionally obliged to protect life and ensure that the internal security is not threatened. That could, of course, expose the life of the citizens and everyone within the state to some level of vulnerability. Kuti, of course, his actions may have been informed by certain uh, conditions which I'm not privy to, but the reality is that what he did by slapping the policeman or alleged to have slapped the policeman was outrightly wrong, regardless of whatever circumstances or provocation possibly he might have been subjected to. But the reality is that could that have happened in by way of self-defense? Nobody uh, could tell. But then Seun Kuti have come out to say, well, he will honor the invitation of the police force and also opined that suggested that the IG of the police should, of course, wade into the matter and conduct independent investigation to ascertain who is at fault and the appropriate disciplinary measures be meted out to whosoever is culpable of such acts. Do you agree with Kuti, or could that be an early submission or by way of defending himself? But what we must come to understand is that we are in a human society, of course, driven by the essence of good governance and patriotism. Of course, whatever we do, regardless of engagements and endeavors, should be tailored towards building a coherent and society that should be desired, everyone should be proud of. You see, the activities of some policemen in recent time have not portrayed the public image of the police force, of course, in a good light. If I must say, that is very clear. But then, I also commend the police commission who in recent times have been able to call up such bad eggs among them that were able to be exposed and in such unruly behaviors bordering on battery, on assault or brutality of the civilians. They have been able to, according to the police commission, disciplined or sanctioned appropriate sanction meted out to such corps. But that notwithstanding, I think there should be a deliberate move and conscious attempt by the police force or commission to rejig, of course, their entire architecture or system to so that there should be provision for scrutiny, scrutinizing whosoever should be absorbed and listed into the police force. They should be given adequate training and be sensitized of the importance and how sensitive their posts or the call to duty to the citizens and the relations and how to manage conflict resolution. Everything is not by violence. You know, an adult will not sometimes be allowed to his or herself be subjected to such level of intimidation. Meanwhile, especially when he perceive or think or believe he has not contravened any known law or violated any rights of anyone. So, on what basis should he be subjected to such level of intimidation? I think these are areas we must call the attention of the IG and the police commission to begin to look into beyond this layer of course incidents. You should look into it and know how best, of course, the public image or reputation of an average police person on the streets of Nigeria could be redeemed because most of them has been engaging in most uh, unfortunately what I consider to be a demeaning and notorious activities which has brought the integrity and the most endeared police force to such lowest ebb. And people no longer, to some extent, based on their experience and what is happening, of course, to their neighbors, no longer can trust the police for their protection. And to such extent that it has not been, it has, of course, severed the relationship between the police and the public, which invariably, at the end of the day, the police is also found within the society. They attend the same markets and their families intermingles. So, and the same hospital, the same public facilities, the same mall, the same eatery, wherever you might find yourself. So, why should you make yourself a scapegoat or an object of such discontentment within the society? I am not in any way, of course, scolding the police force, but as a concerned citizen and humanity, of course, is my major concern. These are people who possibly resort to policing as a way of keeping their families or, of course, fending for their homes. You should also learn to respect them. Yes, when there are check and balances, of course, people will not want to cross the line, the red line. There should be a clear distinction between the activities of the police and, of course, the boundary they must maintain between the public and the orientation about their calling. I will use the word is a calling, is a ministry, of course, is a service to their fatherland and to the humanity or the citizens. So, and people should, regardless of whatever some miscreants among the policemen are doing, should not take law into their hands because we still have some very excellent uh, characters among the police force who, of course, have distinguished themselves, who are not part of this victimization and brutality of the supposed citizens. So whatever happens, Kuti has spent the night in custody and possibly could that be out of the court settlements, or is police making any further arrangements to arraign this gentleman? Yes, it could be out of frustration or out of uh, inability to control his anger, or perhaps he may have been pushed to the wall and he reacted that way. It was not intentionally or premeditated, as I can say, and I will, at this point, of course, appeal that the police personnel involved should please pardon, if I may say, or find a place in his heart to forgive Kuti, because in a good day they might, of course, meet in a joint or anywhere and facilitate with each other. Yes, as man to man, you are expected to experience such, but they say to err is human and to forgive is divine. For me, I don't see anything too bad about that. But it depends on the level of meanings that may be read into that. But whatever happens, I think the police force has the prerogative to either discontinue with this matter or call for settlements among these two doors, and rather than escalating the situation. But then caution should be, of course, served so that a repeat of such might not possibly become the order of the day, because let people get to know their obligations to the police and by extension to the nation, and of course their rights and the obligations of the police to the society. It is very important in order to build a coherent uh, society where everybody, of course, should be considered as equal before the law, and the rights of individuals should be protected at all costs, regardless of whatever might happen. I believe that this is not a murder case, and it is possible to be resolved amicably to avoid further breakdown of law and order, which possibly might be in this siege at this important time. Seun Kuti has been an entertainer, and I believe he has several fans who possibly may not have uh, greeted the detention of Kuti at behind the bars. But whatever the case is, might be so. I expect that they should, of course, be calm and watch whatever happens. That is not to say that they are in support of any misconduct from Kuti or perceived misconduct from him. I believe that we should conduct ourselves in a most decent way, in a most decent manner, and sometimes possibly make sure that we are not taking any stimulant that might, of course, affect the way we feel or think, our reasons or behave. It is very important that we apply modesty in whatever we do, even on the part of the civilians and the part of the police or security operatives. Because when people inhale some stimulants, or it could be individuals or security operatives, as we see in our society today, that the society or civilians are inhaling some stimulants, likewise the same as the security operatives, and sometimes those things might get overboard, and people begin to behave the way they shouldn't have under normal condition or circumstances. But whatever be the case, I think we are following up this Will I say case or this misunderstanding? I use the word misunderstanding because it is bound to happen, and when it happens, what matters is the approach and the wisdom in deployed in resolving such issues, uh, all in the interest of building a more healthy society where everyone's rights, of course, should be respected and protected. Yes, that is my submission at this time. We cannot continue to behave unruly or involved in some circumstances or behaviors that might endanger, of course, people's life or threaten the life of any citizen, and think we can come under any cover, of course, to evade the rights of the law, whatever be the case. Can, of course, by this extension, you've heard that the IG of police has given out an order to the society or to the public, cautioning everyone who might possibly have some intention of, of course, uh, constituting nuisance or creating, disrupting the public peace during the May 29. Of course, do our best to ensure that we are not caught up in this web of controversy. It is very important. The police, the military has given their own position that they are very prepared and fully equipped to contend with any quarters or any individuals or group of persons who might want to, of course, scuttle the peaceful handover comes May 29, which is just a few days, so to say, away from today. Well, what is your own stake? It's really very exciting.